And I don't, when I hope my staff knows this, and, they're my team. They're adults, and I don't look at myself as more powerful than them because I have a higher ranking position. They teach me, and I teach them. We're all powerful, regardless of, our titles. And they're good people, and I like to surround myself with good people.
Thank you, Cindy. But it is so true, everything that she's saying. I think that, I've learned so much from her, and she's like, like the first supervisor that I see completely different to other supervisors, because a lot of supervisors in my life have been like very authoritative. Mm-hmm. And I think you've always given us, that flexibility of, making the right choices for ourselves. Is this school going to work for you? Is this group going to work for you? Or is this group of kids going to work for you?
Will a podcast work?
Will a podcast work? Look at us doing a podcast. And I think, Cindy, I do have to say thank you so much, because I think we've, this podcast, you've made it possible because you believed in us. At the end of the day, if you hadn't believed in us.
And you're on it.
Yeah.
Not because she's the boss, but because, down to the level of where we could speak candidly, openly, whatever, and trust.
Trust.
I don't want to run a child care agency. I'm not in that business, and so
quit looking at me, Maria.
I'm working with
quit touching me, Maria.
Adults.
Leo, look at Mr. Leo. He's talking ugly to me.
Maria.
But they've proven,
We're joking.
They're well-functioning adults. They don't need me micromanaging them. And you know what? They're sufficient in their personal life. That tells you a whole heck of a lot right there.
Yes.
And so when people try to manage me like a child, then I don't enjoy that either.
Because you look at, my I'm in order.
Right.
I keep things in order, so that should mean something. Yeah, I don't think that we appreciate people by the content of their character.
Right.
We talk about that, the content of your character. I think a lot of it's based on what you look like, what you sound like.
You're right.
And
are you popular?
Yeah. And they'll even go as far as skin color, which I don't want to be known as my skin color or my ethnicity. I want it recognized, but that's not what defines me.
Exactly.
It's my character, please.
Right. Absolutely. And when you hear somebody, because this has happened here, this has happened in other places, but, when somebody says, I've got dirt on that person, or this or that about that person, don't just take that in as true. Give that person the benefit of the doubt. Get to know that person.
Know that person first.
Because you know what? A lot of that time, that just turns out to be dirty rumors that don't help anybody, And nobody wakes up, trust me, people, nobody wakes up and says, today I'm going to be a B, or, today I'm going to be a class actor. We're all well-intentioned, but we do fall in holes.
I think that, I try not to, like I told you in the Real Tears podcast, I try not to be negative. I try to always be positive, but I catch myself once in a while slipping. Yeah. So it is something you have to practice. You have to practice, like with you, it took you a while to get there, but it starts off with, I need better. I need to feel better.
Yes, right.
You've got to have that motivation, but you will have times where you're triggered and when you go backwards, and it's okay. You're human, and you just continue to go forward.
We're human and we're not perfect, and there's things happen, and sometimes there's setbacks. I think for me, there was a period with COVID hit us, and then I was stuck at home and I couldn't exercise, so I had to take it upon myself to get up early in the morning and do my routine of what worked for me, working out, exercising. And then I had, my dad started getting ill, and he started with having these appointments with one doctor and another doctor and another doctor, and it fell all on me that I had to make sure that I was very well stable to attend to his needs, my family's needs, my kids' needs, my work, because I take my work very serious, and I'm not saying this just because my supervisor is here in the studio.
No, I know.
But I love my job. I love what I do, and I think the kids that I work with, not my own kids, give me so much strength and power. But those kids that I work with, they give me something to look forward to. And getting up in the morning with a positive attitude, it's what helps me get my job done right. So there are setbacks. There's things that happen. Life happens to us. My aside from my dad's, different doctors that he had to go visit, I had my son who also fell ill and went through a appendicitis surgery. And that was hard because at the beginning he's feeling sick, I don't know what's going on, and I'm thinking about my dad and his appointments, and I have to take my son into the emergency room, and it's all during COVID, and there's only one parent allowed, and a lot of times we need that other person, like that other support. My husband's support, he wasn't there with me when they're checking Andres and taking all, making sure that everything's okay with him or what's wrong with him, and I'm there by myself, and that was hard, but at the same time, you go through these difficulties and you still have to have a positive mindset that everything's going to be okay and that you're going to move forward no matter what.
But you couldn't have done it without the foundation you set.
That is true.
You set the foundation
of
positive talk. You set the foundation of the healthy lifestyle. You set the foundation of order, like Cindy says. And it makes things like that are out of order more manageable.
That is true.
And that's what I try to tell clients. If you're listening, clients, this is what I'm trying to tell you. You've got to set a right foundation, not just abstaining from drugs and alcohol, but you got to have a foundation where your emotions can be you put them in check, or else they're going to go all over the place, and it's going to be really hard to stay sober. You're going to have events that happen that are uncontrollable, so control what you can.
Yes.
Well, I always say too, like, you can take this to many levels, but when you look at the consequences of life, it started with an order. First, there was a thought.
Right.
And, that was a belief. Belief is just, the thoughts that you have, and then there was an action, and then there was the result of that action. So how did we get here? And okay, I got here because I followed that wrong person, or did this, was with the wrong crowd. But you get another chance. So did you repeat that? Or are you ready to change the order?
Yes.
Because there is order to everything. Even math, and I hate math, but that's a whole nother. I don't like the order.
That'll be
math.
another episode of our math problems.
But order, foundation, and you've got to think about things, reflect on things. For me, what feeds me is the positive books. I have to read books that reinforce these things for
positivity.
Me. Yes.
Yes.
Very much.
No, I like this topic because I think people listening at home. I hope it really resonates with you, because it is easy to get into the negative, and then we live in a society that's so cynical. It's you versus me. It's the worst of the worst. There's no security. There's no safety. And I hate to be generalizing like that, but that's what the dominant culture is. But underneath that, you'll find things like the Real Podcast of Dallas that brings out the positivity. And we've proven that that's what people look for.
Absolutely.
Good, wholesome fun. Drug-free. Because drug-free is cool again. Yes, it is.
It is. It really is. And I think that's our focus, our priority in working with the kids at the schools, to give them that prevention and to help them, understand that, hey, when the time is right, when you get to the right age and you have to make those choices, you'll be able to make those choices for yourself, but someone's already taught you and given you information, and whatever you decide to do later on in your life, it'll all fall on you because we own our life. Nobody else owns it but ourselves.
Right.
And
unless you're in prison.
Unless you're in prison, that's true. And
but what got you there?
Well, and when I mean in prison, I mean even with an addiction.
Yeah, that's
and you're
true.
right. What gets you there? What got you there? Of course, it's out of order.
Out of order.
What got you there was that negative thought. What got you there was that your affirmations were probably like, that looks good, I'm going to take it.
Right. Right.
It happens a lot.
Absolutely. Thoughts are powerful.
Very.
People don't speak about that very much. I mean, it's like, you can go to the bookstore and you can find the self-help section, but it needs to be part of our daily language. And, I try to watch my words.
And I think you've got to want it too, because I will tell you, working with kids, working with, with adults, a lot of times you come across trying to give them like the right positive message, and they're just stuck in their ways that it's hard for them to accept. So I always say, like, one thing that I've learned, I think, is that you've got to allow people to find their own right timing.
Yes.
And it is, and it's their choice. You can put somebody in treatment, but if they're not ready
it's not gonna
to get clean and sober, it's not happening.
Yes. And then it depends on the levels that they're at too, because sometimes they may think they're ready, and then they're it's like baby steps. And sometimes what families do, you have your idea of what a recovery looks like, but it doesn't look like that. Might look differently. It might be where the person might need more help. It might be where the person has some accomplishments, but they're not ready to really abstain completely, and it's still a plus. Well, I found out they were still using. Look what they did. Yeah, but did they minimize it? That's a whole different topic. But it's like that with even behaviors. Some of your kids may have been behaving a certain way. Now they're trying to change. They're trying to do some things, but it's probably maybe not as fast as you want it to. So work with them. Work with what you have.
Be patient.
Be very patient.
Patience is key.
Patience and forgiveness.
Yes, forgiveness.
Forgiveness is key to everything. Your anger, any kind of emotion you don't like. You put a forgiveness behind it, and it softens the blow.
And resentments lead to unhealthy manifestations. I believe that.
Of course, you
within
carry
your
those.
body, and guess what? You're not hurting anybody but yourself.
Right.
Is forgiveness easy? Oh no. But you've got to, or in some instances, Maria and I have talked about it. Sometimes you have to cut the people that are closest to you away. Let them go because they're toxic for you, and you don't need that. You're trying to surround yourself in a healthy environment.
That is so true. Like, sometimes we do have to cut ties with toxic people, because if they're not helping, your situation, your lifestyle, then you don't need them in your life. If they're only going to be there to criticize that you make all of these good choices because it's what's good for you, yourself, your family, and your kids, then they don't need to be in your life.
Yeah, it's when you start doing things that are positive, especially in some homes, in some environments. They probably will make fun of you. I remember not using drugs, and I got made fun of. I remember not staying out late at times, and I got made fun of by choice, because I lived in a home where I could have done whatever I wanted. But I chose not to do it because I saw how it was taking people down. And it was character. I didn't want to ruin my character. And back then, to be fair, character building was very big. People talked about character.
It was a past thing.
Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we need to bring it back. We should do more things on character, building character.
Yeah. Now, your elementary schools are so much focus on passing the tests,
academics,
and we've, they may put up some of the positive character signs, but I just think we need a much more focus on that.
You need to practice them. Practice. If you're not a happy person, practice being happy. If you're not naturally a person, a go-getter, practice being a go-getter. Addiction. If you've never been sober in your life, and there's people that have functioned like that, started using 10, 11, 12, practice sobriety and look at sobriety. Look at people that are sober. Practice. Don't be cynical and make fun of them and talk about them, but practice it. Practice makes perfect.
One step at a time. That stuff's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're not going to conquer the world in a day, but a step at a time, a belief in a time, a positive thought.
Yeah. So make a list of affirmations. Put some affirmations in the mirror in the morning and look at them. You look lovely. You're wonderful. You deserve better. You needed this. You can do it. Look at me.
And your affirmations can be however
Listen
you
to the
want
Real
them.
Podcast of Dallas. Put that on there.